Welcome to One-on-One with Expert Flyer. I'm your host, Lisa Caslin. And today we're going to talk about private jet travel. And my guest today is Millie Hernandez Becker. She's the president and CEO of a company called Skyqueen Enterprises based in Westchester, New York. So I want to say, hi, Millie.
Hi, Lisa.
Good to have you.
It's great to be here. Happy to be with you this afternoon.
Thank you. So among many other things, as part of the services that you provide to clients, you do help travelers who want to travel privately by jet, kind of wrap their heads around that idea and kind of select the best choice. But I wanted to just get a high-level overview. Talk about your company. Talk about the services that you provide.
Well, Skyqueen Enterprises is really a full-service private travel company. We can arrange for a private charter basically globally for any amount of people, any amount of passengers. We also advise clients on if they want to purchase an airplane. For example, if you're chartering jets more than 200 hours a year is a rule of thumb, you should look at purchasing an airplane because there are tax benefits and certainly from a lifestyle benefit of owning your own airplane. So that's one of the things that I do. But also I do some consulting on aircraft real estate, aviation real estate, and today there are just so many options for people in aviation, whether it's a jet card, whether it's a fractional share of a jet, or a membership program. So there are a lot of options for people today.
Okay, good. I think for just the general audience, and for folks who may have always dreamed about flying to their destination in a private jet, I'd like to kind of talk about that a little bit. There have been a number of these private jet companies that have been cropping up over the last several years that are really trying to make private jet flying accessible to travelers who aren't necessarily part of the millionaire club. And what's your take on that?
Well, I think, first of all, it's a great use of an asset, because if you have an airplane and you can fill all the seats and get a full load factor, that's great. But that's not a private charter. That's a shuttle. And there's a big distinction. And those are great because, at the end of the day, if 15 people are going to Miami and they can all go at the same time on the same day, that's great. Get on a Gulfstream and in 3 hours you're in Miami from Westchester County Airport. But it's very different from someone who books a plane for their specific schedule, for when they want to go, and with their group. So it's two different things. But the shuttles are becoming very popular.
All right. Well, let's talk about that then. Let's kind of backtrack. Who is the typical user of a private jet? The traditional sort of demographic, if you will, and why do they require this specific service?
Well, I think to answer that question, you have to talk about corporations. The National Business Aircraft Association represents all the flight departments. I don't know the exact number, but all the companies that own and operate private jets for business. It's been documented that the most profitable companies in the world operate private jets. Why? It saves time. It's efficient. The security, it's all there. So that's one segment of the population. And for them, they don't need to justify it. They just know that they need it and they use it. For the general public, I think that if you have a home, for example, Nantucket is a perfect example. There are a lot of people who live in New York and Westchester who go to Nantucket. Well, how do you get there? By ferry or by airplane? And there are wonderful options to charter a small twin-engine airplane to get you and your family to your home. So it runs the gamut from a Gulfstream 650 that goes to Hong Kong nonstop to a Pilatus, for example, that will go to Nantucket in an hour.
Wow. Okay. So, what do you think is the future of this? Where do you think what is the state of the private jet flight industry now, and is it on an upward trajectory at the moment, or where is it? Where are we now?
Well, our business is very much tied to Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely is tied to Wall Street. And right now, private aviation, general aviation, is very strong. It's very healthy. The biggest challenges that we are facing are the lack of pilots and mechanics. So, we're facing a shortfall in the workforce in both of those areas. But as far as the production of airplanes, the tax law that was recently passed is very favorable for ownership of aircraft, and that's important. So there are a lot of things that are in our favor now.
Okay. So when someone calls you up and says, "Hey, Millie, I want to take the family to Nantucket or wherever," what happens? Does your company actually own planes, or are you working with partners to make that happen?
I'm a broker. Skyqueen is a broker.
Okay.
So I have trusted operators that I call upon based upon the mission. See, the one thing is people want to charter an airplane, but it's based on the mission. Where are you going? Are you going to Paris, or are you going to Bangor, Maine? So that's the first thing. And then once you know the mission and you know the payload, how many people are going, what's your load factor, then you can start to select an airplane for the mission. So it's really all about the mission, and of course the schedule of the person who's chartering the airplane.
Yeah, because I mean, a person who may be new to all of this, their first time, they're not going to know who is the best provider to go to Paris.
Who has the right insurance? Who's certified? I mean, all these carriers need to be certified by the FAA. They're Part 135 air carriers, so they're subject to the scrutiny of the Federal Aviation Administration. And you want to make sure that you're flying with a reputable carrier and somebody who can, who can complete the mission.
Okay.
So that's really important.
Yep. All right. Have you seen any burgeoning trends? Are there any meaningful changes that seem to be kind of sprouting up in the private jet travel space, whether it's from a service standpoint or technology, anything like that?
Well, technology is always driving the advancements in our industry. I mean, technology is part of our industry, whether it's the instruments in the airplane, the software is always getting better, because at the end of the day, we're connecting people with places with airplanes. So it's a triangle. It's the person on the phone, it's the pilots on the ground, and then it's the passenger. And you need to make that all happen smoothly. So as much technology as you have, you better have some human technology in there that's making sure that stuff is happening. Nevertheless, I think as far as trends are concerned, with the actual industry, I see companies with helicopters doing the shuttles, like Blade, great company. They're doing shuttles to the Canyon Ranch, which is a lifestyle trip, which is really a lot of fun and something that I'm sure a lot of people in Westchester would like to do. So I see a lot of more this crowd flying, people getting together to charter an airplane who are going to the same place.
Yeah, and I think I read somewhere recently, it may have been about Blade, I'm not sure, but, this whole notion, I think it may have been in Asia, this whole trend of, bypassing traffic, getting picked up on the roof of your office building to go where you need to go,
I have to tell you, Lisa, that's how they do it in Brazil.
Really?
I was at the Latin American Aviation Conference 2 years ago in August in Brazil. That's how you travel in Brazil, is helicopter building to building by helicopter.
Wow.
And unfortunately it's because of the kidnappings there. They don't.
Oh goodness. Yeah.
It's a whole other level.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Very interesting. All right. Well, I mentioned technology, and you mentioned technology too. Let's jump even further ahead into the future. We recently talked to an analyst for the company called Astrolytical, and we were kind of pondering the future of all things airborne. And obviously. Some of the major companies like Virgin Galactic, Richard Branson's company, and Elon Musk's enterprise SpaceX came up with the conversation. And as part of that discussion, we talked about Elon Musk's goal to basically use space to reduce the travel time. So basically taking people up into space from one point and then dropping them down in another spot on the Earth. So you could start out in New York and you can land in Australia in 30 minutes. It seems like something impossible, but it's really something that is in our not too distant future. And I just wondered, how do you think that might connect with what you do in the future?
First of all, I think as far as aviation is concerned, there really are no limits. I think the imagination and the know-how of the people in this country, like Branson and like Elon Musk, will continue to find really amazing ways of utilizing air travel. But I think that as far as the future is concerned, I think for me, what I see before that are cars, flying cars.
Yes.
I see that. That's what I see before that. So that whole space thing, I'll be dead really before that.
No,
but
you won't.
Think I will. But I think that the cars, the flying cars, which I know are working on in California,
in France,
and in Texas. So. I think there's exciting things out there. So, that George Jetson kind of picture of you flying around, I see that.
It's exciting. It's really exciting. All right. Well, listen, before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to add? And give us your website address. So if any folks listening out there are interested and maybe need your wisdom and consulting services, they can look you up.
Oh, sure. It's www.skyqueen.us. And thank you, Lisa. Thank you for having me today. I always love to talk about my passion, aviation.
It's great. And thank you for coming on with us, and we'd love to have you back again.
Terrific. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.